pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
We're not just some people that are here that are lucky to have a job, as to quote somebody is saying. We're more than that. We're professionals. When you put us out there, we are the face of the company, as the general manager has stated. We are the face of the company, so we should act accordingly. But we should be respected as well.
Yeah.
You know, professionalism isn't just a one-way street. You know, their expectations of us are up here. Management should be up here as well. Currently, it's not.
Do you think our union, ATU 757, has been doing a good job in the media? And are we represented well in the media?
Let's say if you go out and talk about having an open negotiation, and then, you know, make a big rah-rah about it, and then all of a sudden you go away and do a gag order. Or if you go out and put your information on circulars, you know, with the various newspapers, and talk about retirees as, you know, we're fighting for the retirees. And then your situation, under 65, congratulations, you got this percentage, but that's not what you were promised when you retired. So if you're going to throw people under the bus, why are you putting them in newspapers? Or if you remember Brother Bob's video concerning the retirees, really good piece that was put on YouTube. Somebody had to argue with our current representation to put it on the atu.org site.
This is June, a TriMet retiree's wife. Because of health care benefits promised through her husband's retirement from TriMet, she has survived an aneurysm, 2 bouts with cancer, and a 12-day stay in the hospital for pneumonia.
Okay, Henry, can you talk a little bit about the systemic problems at TriMet, the things that happen to operators every day, and TriMet's response, and what you think would be the appropriate response?
Well, first off, we have a problem with our fare system. Anytime you disproportionately affect riders by adding a 40 cents or 50 cents increase in their fares, that leads to problems in the system, especially when our SOPs are so gray on how do we determine a proper fare. Now, we're trained to be an informer. Well, you read the SOP, there's so much gray area, so if you have 1,900 people making 1,900 different decisions in the systems, you're going to have confusion. And a study that was printed out in 2011, I believe, stated that if there's confusion in the system, that always leads to regression. And especially if the company has decided to move away from, you know, social programs such as AK Rutgers, or reaching out to the people that they serve, that creates more problems, like a disconnect from the company. So I think if we solve those problems, we can actually make this system a safer system, a well-respected system, where there's not so much operator assaults, or the public getting informed about the operator assaults, because that gets swept under the rug quite a bit.
What do you think about the fare inspections, the way they handle the fare? These, what I call the fare Nazis.
Well, it ain't what it used to be, put it that way, where they had a classification of fare inspectors. But, you know, to be honest, it could be better. First off, take Pam Thompson, for instance. Love Sister Thompson. The fact is, why is it that she got assaulted over a 50-cent fare? What should she have done? What should she be taught on how to properly administer fares? You could put up this sticker, that sticker, and then say, well, you're an informer. Well, are you an informer or are you an enforcer? I know some of my brothers and sisters are confused with this conundrum because the company has created a gray area. You We need to have a standard. How do you administer fares properly so that we don't have confusion in the system?
Why do you think TriMet's not clear about that?
Because instead of having a fare enforcement system like they used to have with the fare inspectors, now they put it all on the operators. But then when you have a 50-cent hike in fares, they're not calling the company and saying, look, these fares are unfair to me because I'm on a fixed income, or I'm retired, I can't afford it now. Or you just divorce yourself from the situation, such as with A.K. Rucker's program that was running for years. Now they've disconnected with transit equity problems.
Don't they have some kind of what is it, internship thing they do in the summer? I saw something, they had some kind of a...
Well, if it is, it's not associated with what Rucker program represented.
Well, they kind of took it away from the frontline employees and put it in with management. Like the management runs the program.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I always called them propagandists. They were trained to spread positive TriMet propaganda.
Right.
Whereas Rucker's program actually was more based toward the kids and helping the kids. I don't know.
But again, if you want to say, well, we want to build relationships with disadvantaged kids, or do we want to put them in an internship and pushing papers?
Have you ever met John L. Bell?
No. I'd like to one day.
Yeah. Interesting fellow. Yeah, I had a conversation. Nice guy. But he works for McFarland, so if you work for McFarland, you're under the constraints of McFarland, and that's what he's facing. And I understood
I'm sure he does a pretty good job. Although I've seen videos, I've seen the board meetings with his presentations. Very well run.
Yeah, I don't know.
Again, we're not behind the curtain, so we don't know.
Yeah, the transit equity thing, I personally think it's a complete farce, but that's just me. All right. Okay, Henry, I want to talk a little bit about this contract ratification and how it was handled by our so-called executive board. I understand there's no information that comes from our union officers to somebody like me. You can't find it. There's no place on the web. Nothing. Bruce did meet with me personally and tried to explain why things were the way they are, but I didn't find it satisfactory. Can you go over the process that led to this ratification? Something about 14 executive board members voted yes, and only 4 voted no, but there was a gag order of some sort.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're clear about that. Tell us about that. Do you know?
Well, the gag order was put in place so that the company couldn't come back in and say you're tampering, unfair labor practice, liability for the union. So that was put in place for that very reason. But the simple fact is there's no transparency. There's zero transparency because the lack of information getting out leads us as members to make decisions based on somebody's opinion. Such as the 50+1 vote that's going to come up in March. If you have the wrong information that isn't properly vetted, just like the tentative agreement wasn't properly vetted before it was given to members, members are making decisions based on somebody's opinion, not the actual fact. Chris Day brought up this very fact that the 50+1 does not violate international bylaws. And the executive board took an opinion from our soon-to-be gone, I don't know what you call her, but Susan Stover. She's gone, March 1st, but she put out the information. It wasn't properly vetted. They made Rob Howman, who presented it in front of the executive board to be, adjudicated by the membership. He got blasted on information that was just an opinion, not actual fact. So when Brother Day came up and said, no, you have to redo this because the information that you provided was inaccurate. As far as the status quo of how we do things, you've been through it. I see it happening, in our current administration, our past administration. There's no accountability. Do we know who voted for or against this tentative agreement?
right.
Why 14 people thought that seniority for the mechanics was worth $1, or the fact that you take out the grandfather clause and throw you guys under the bus. You also have to remember that 500 people did not vote or abstain from voting. That's a major
No,
disconnect.
it's like more like 900. It's like half the people voted.
Yeah,
and the retirees got no vote.
Yeah, but if you said the voting block,
Yeah.
you know, people said yay, who was in the majority, and people who said nay, just a little less. Just a little less.
Yeah.
You know, I think probably within 100, maybe 200
Yeah.
votes. But the fact is, 500 people didn't vote or abstain.
Right.
Those are the people who were, I want to say, new hires or new members.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they got no information. All they got was a tentative agreement that wasn't properly vetted and put out there in front of everybody and said, well.
And that's the other problem I have with the union is that there's no. They make a decision and no dissent allowed. I mean, I know they sent John Hunt into a corner. John and Mary had to go into a corner and pretend that they didn't exist while this was going on.
Well, that's all speculation because with the gag order, you don't even know that, for instance. It's all rumors.
Well, there was a gag order.
Yes.
So who's the gag order directed at?
All the executive board members from talking about it.
Yeah. So I mean, how can we exist in a situation? You can't talk about. I mean, what kind of that is just.
Well, you don't run a campaign and say you're the transparency guy when everything has been shady at best, and that's being kind. You know, you can't say. Or for instance, something Brother Dave brought up. Well, where's the accountability? Do you know who voted for what? And why is it that it's a secret on how people voted? Or say one of our brothers out at West wanted to be a liaison, you know, for the union. Instead of calling over to Merlot and say, well, can you help me out over here? You know, there's the situation that we need to handle. Well, why not make him the liaison? He knows everything about West. And then they say, well, it was voted down. Well, what was the number? Well, we can't tell you. It's just,
I mean, really.
you know, where's the accountability?
Yeah.
You know, it's the way the system is right now. The status quo is meant to discourage members from participation.
Yeah, that's right.
Which needs to go away.
So what do you think the attitude of the president should be regarding the members?
Well, the president should always have a members first approach, which means that we need to re-empower our members. Because a lot of times our members are just out there and they're just dumbfounded about what's going on. And then when somebody who's active gets out there and starts talking about it, ask them what their opinion is about the union. What do they see that may be wrong with the union, or how can the union better serve them? There's no conversation about that. It's just you're expected to do it, you're expected to pay us, and it's all anti-union. It's all anti-union rhetoric.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, you're just making their point for them. I mean, you can't just say we're a union and mean it with any substance when you don't practice anything unionized.
Yeah.
You know, just take for instance the block sign. Okay, we're talking about something that, again, you sign in secret, you shove it onto the members and say it's a good thing, and then you try to hide certain information so that the chief representative doesn't have any clue about anything, but then you put a PowerPoint present, you know, and tell people, hey, it doesn't affect your seniority. In what world? In what world?
Yeah, I don't understand how anybody doesn't understand how that is screwed up your seniority.
But the thing is, you're selling it. You're trying to sell it to the membership and say, look, your seniority isn't affected. But that's incorrect, because now you just taken all my choices away for a block program that is wrought with all kind of failures. Because my current situation, my first piece, I'm off at 2 o'clock. By Friday, I'm off at 7 o'clock. So you see my body clock is set here at 2 o'clock. By the time I'm done, I'm off at 7 o'clock. So my body's used to getting off at 2 o'clock. So you just affected my sleep, my recovery, my mental recovery, especially if we're trying to be behind the seat for X amount of hours. We have to be on top of our game. If we're not on top of our game, we're flying sleep.
Yeah.
We're just sleeping.
And it's not a good thing.
No, but that's what Mr. Rose was trying to prove with his
His hours of service.
Yes, the hours of service.